In the essence of time, we are a couple minutes late. I do apologize. I do like to get us started on time. We'll go ahead and call the meeting to order. It is 4:02. This meeting was requested as a result of some other meetings that have been ongoing from an issue related to the North Florence sewer system and some of the issues over there with the business owners and the property owners. And welcome, Mr. Musgrove.
Thank
and
you.
I will turn the meeting over to you, Mr. Cole.
Okay, so I won't go back and review everything in detail like we did last night. So we had a good conversation last night at the council meeting, work session. I was trying to think of what goes with work. All of my mind was just about going with that. So, at the work session, to basically recap, you know, I told you guys last night that I felt like today we would make progress, we would see progress, and we have. So we got a call this morning. Ms. Santos had reached out to Crouch and Sons Plumbing, and also I think to another plumber, but anyway, Crouch and Sons was the first to respond. They were there, I think it was around 9:30 this morning, if I remember correctly. Will, you can correct me if I'm wrong.
Yeah, that's pretty good.
So we rode out there. We just made a trip out there. They had pulled the manhole lid, which is part of the city infrastructure, sent one of the plumbers down in it, found that the lateral that ties in from these businesses was within arm's reach, if that makes sense. So 1.5 feet, 2 feet, something like that. They were able to take their push camera and go up in it from that end, whereas everyone up until today had tried to enter from the opposite end.
Oh, right, like you told us last night.
Yes. So they were able to access it from the sewer, the city side of the sewer, and they went in about less than 20 feet.
Less than 20 feet.
Yeah, less than 20 feet, and they found what we all thought was the issue. They found a collapse in the pipe, a breach, however you want it.
Wasn't a typewriter this time.
Right. It was not a typewriter. Yes, it was definitely a breach. There's you know, the concrete, there's rock, there's different things that were in that line. So the good news with all this is that where we know this issue is, now this may not be the only issue, we'll say that. We can't get beyond this point. We've got to repair this in order to be able to TV the rest of it, if that makes sense. So plans have been put in motion. Ms. Santos is working with Crouch and Sons. They are in turn going to contact a third-party vac truck, somebody that has a vac truck, and it's my understanding they're going to vac excavate the area.
There's a lot of fiber optic cables right in that same area.
Yes.
So the fear is that if they tried to excavate it by conventional methods, they would hit one of the fiber optic cables, disrupting telecommunication service in that area.
Another problem.
Yes.
So they're gonna contact a third party company that has a vacuum excavation unit.
Now, that's not to say at some point they may do some conventional excavating, but I think they're going to try to locate.
What is the timeline for that? Because I know now we've talked about a third party. Crouch is local, they're great, but the third party, what is the timeline on that?
We are waiting on Crouch to get back with us. We provided them with our information.
2 local contractors that have vacuum excavation equipment.
And so they are going to get in touch with them. Now, of course, as I mentioned last night, is Miss Santos was at the mercy of the plumbers or the folks that she was contacting. Now these, specifically Crouch and Son, is now at the mercy of whenever one of these 2 local vac excavator companies will reply to them. Hopefully it's going to be, they're going to stress the urgency of the situation. My hope is that it's tomorrow. Now, of course, we all know what the weather's fixed to do, so the weather's going to play a part in it. We can't have people out there on the side of the street when it's storming and lightning and all that good stuff. But Crouch and Sons assured us that they would make contact with them today and see if they couldn't get something scheduled immediately. The good news with all of this that I've said is that none of it is in the street. It's all where the issue lies in. There's 2 landscape beds that are separated by about a 4 foot by 4 foot sidewalk. It's actually the sidewalk that crosses and goes across Wood Avenue to the Peck's Hardware side of the street. I spoke with Miss Simmons about it this morning because it was in her district. I told Matt, who was with Crouch and Sons, if that sidewalk needed to come out, I made a unilateral decision, take the sidewalk out. We would worry about that on the back end. While they're on site, they're trying to make the repair, do what's needed to get the repair made and get the sewage flowing. We would worry about the aesthetics, if you will. We'll worry about that on the back end. So there's right now, what we basically told them is we've tried, they've asked us questions and we've tried to answer every one of their questions. I told them we would be responsible for the shrubbery, the mulch, if the sidewalk had to come out, we would be responsible for that. We would the aesthetics part of it, if you will. We'll make everything look nice again. They're going to, in turn, get the project going, get the pipe fixed. One discovery that they did make is that the line they thought was PVC to a certain point, and then clay from there on out. It's only PVC for a short distance. It's clay the majority of the way, probably 95% of the way.
Is it at that 20-foot mark?
It is clay at the mark that they have deemed we know is an issue. Now there may be another issue beyond that, but we've got to get this issue taken care of before they can TV and inspect the rest of the line. But they're pretty confident that this is the heart of the matter, if you will. This is going to be their problem. They did not say anything about money, costs, anything like that. There again, that's really not any of my business because it's a privately owned, privately maintained sewer line. But my estimation, Will and I have kind of talked about it. We're thinking maybe $7,500 max is what it's going to cost them, which is
it all opposed to 48,000.
Opposed to the 40.
Mine was $8,500.
So I'm thinking, $7,500. Yes, a huge,
With no
substantial difference.
Yeah.
But no what?
No paving.
No,
Right, no
paving.
cutting into asphalt.
No cutting.
So no
That's
paving
good.
gonna be involved.
No paving's gonna be involved. The only thing that might be involved as far as that's concerned would just be that little 4x4 section of sidewalk. And
Well,
I
that's
mean,
what I was
But if
gonna
it
ask
gets
you.
past that first section, they fix that, and goes in front, will it,
now, that's the one caveat to this is once they fix this initial area that we know is damaged and we know is a problem, if there is other issues between there and the end of the line, then there may be some parking area, not street, not travel lanes, but parking area, which can be basically patched back. You don't have to do the broad spectrum of paving that's required by the city engineering department. You can just basically patch that'd probably be an 18-inch cut.
18 to 2 foot.
Yeah, 18 to 24-inch cuts. So either way, regardless, the amount of paving is going to be, if they have to go beyond that point, it's going to be drastically reduced.
Well, at the end of the day, it's clay pipe, so if it's not already damaged beyond that spot, it's probably gonna happen again.
Well, and that's what we've
Been there
told
for so
them.
long.
Yes, and that's kind of what we've advised Ms. Santos and some of the other residents on. And I'll be 100% honest with you, Mr. Oliver. They may make this repair, this one spot, and this may be it, and this may last 75 more years.
Yeah.
They may make this repair in 2 days from now. It may cave in somewhere else. It's just the unknown with clay pipe.
I got a question,
Okay.
because I've been talking back and forth to you and Ms. Santos all day long, back and forth. And I know this morning the streets was good, nothing had leaked out, seeped out.
Mhm.
What was the last time you checked to see if the streets was okay still?
We were,
Noon today.
Is it
yes,
still good?
yes, we were
Okay.
still good.
Okay, good deal.
So
But if all this weather predicted to come in.
That was my
it-
Was
question.
that will complicate.
Potentially,
That will complicate the situation. Anytime you have heavy rainfall, it's not good on the sewer system. So we have alerted our guys, though. They're
we're
well
set to
aware
go
of
in
it.
case something
Yes.
happens. Okay,
In
good.
case something happens, they have an overflow. Now, of course, when it's pouring down rain, it's not going to do any good for us to go out there and back it down. But as soon as the rain ceases,
We'll get out there and clean
we
and
will get out
sanitize
and
it.
do exactly what we've been doing. We will vac that. It's not a manhole. It's just it is a manhole lid there, but it's not a manhole. It's just a riser. I mean, the thing's only this deep. It's maybe 8
It's
inches.
a framing cover.
It's a framing cover.
We sell, when we have them that are damaged, we sell them for scrap.
Yeah.
So I did ask Gary to be here from the building department because one of the questions that came up last night had to do with the ordinance about potentially having to have a timeline associated with it. And the only thing that it sounds like to me, and please, Will, Tad, correct me if I'm wrong, the only thing that it sounds like to me it could necessitate a delay would be related to the weather.
That and the fact that they're now at the mercy of a third party
Right.
vac excavator
So-
company.
I'm asking you, Gary, if there's anything you feel like we need to know as far as, does that timeline give you any concerns at all about allowing these businesses to remain open and operational with the ordinances we have it?
If sewage is flowing onto the street or the parking area, then yes, it'd be a public health concern.
Right.
Then at some point, you know, we can address it like they're doing, like the water and sewer department is doing now. But if it's creating some kind of health hazard, we wouldn't have any choice but to take some kind of action.
So, but it has happened. So my point is, if it keeps happening this week or whatever, will you say, yeah, we've got to close these businesses down? That's what I'm asking for. Like, what do we know about the viability of the repair? We don't really know. And then, so is your,
Well, I feel pretty confident in the repair, but by what I've seen, it's been scoped and with cameras and stuff, that once they get into it and excavate it up, that we're gonna be able to know more at that point, and hopefully that'll be the repair.
And that really truly is the unknown. We'll know, just like Gary said, we'll know for certain once the excavation is done and we're actually have to, you know, physically lay eyes on the pipe. And I say we, I'm actually referring to Crouch and Sons. They'll know exactly what to do once that takes place. Of course, we're going to work with them. Will and I both provided our phone numbers, said, hey, if you have any questions, concerns, if I don't know the answer, I'll get you the answer, you know.
So how deep's the pipe?
We think it's around 5.5 feet.
Yeah,
Somewhere in
somewhere
that-
5 to 5.5 rather than
5.5 feet. So it's not a, you know, the other reason we recommended that they do the vac excavating is because they're working in the confines of about a 6x6 area wheel, something like that. So you
It's
know,
pretty small.
it's a pretty small area that they're going to work in. But if you vac that thing down, you can create the size of the hole that you want, you know, and you're going to stay within the confines of the curbing and the landscape bed and all that.
do you see there being any expense associated with this that the city is going to incur? I know there's potential. You talked about mulch, maybe having to do paving for parking spaces, potentially sidewalks. We can't vote on that today, of course, because we don't know, but that's something you'll have to bring back to us.
Yes, the paving we'll know more about the paving. And when I say the paving, the asphalt, we'll know more about the asphalt once we get down there to it. They get that repaired and then they shoot the rest of the line. The only initial expense that I can see would be just the repair of the beds, or restoration of the beds. It's not going to be repaired, but the restoration of the beds, and then the potential for having to replace that 4-foot by 4-foot concrete sidewalk. That's the only thing that I can really see. Oh, there is in those beds, I almost forgot, in those beds there are irrigation systems, but I do not think those irrigation systems are active. But there's a potential that if they damage one of those irrigation lines, we'll have to repair that, but that should not be that's not a major fix. That's pretty commonplace. Anytime you do any kind of digging around sprinklers and irrigation, you know, you can hit those with a shovel and damage those.
Just with you guys' expertise, I know Crouch and Sons or whoever perhaps will be doing it, but what you all potentially have identified that the problem is, if something like that is truly it and they perhaps have to go in and do that work, what's that timeline, just from your expertise, knowing that you're not
For
doing
a point repair right there, a day or less.
Oh,
Yeah.
good, okay.
Yeah, this is not
Not no week long.
this is
run,
no
okay.
the major holdup right now is just getting a third party.
Yeah, but if they had
excavator
somebody
company.
right there on spot, they had to go in and fix that, maybe a day, 2 at the max.
Sure.
Oh,
Was
okay, good.
MPE who they're working with?
They're
that Crouch and Sons?
Crouch and Sons is the one
No,
that's
the
heading it up
third
right
party.
now. The third party, to our knowledge right now, there has not been a third party.
Yeah.
hired.
Councilmember Griffin, I provided them with 2 contacts, local contacts that provide hydro excavation service. I can't recommend one over the other. It's up to them to contact them and say, hey, this is who we want to do our hydro excavation.
And they were basically going to contact both and see who could do it first.
Right.
That was basically that was the conclusion that we, talking with those guys, they're gonna contact both. And then they will be able to come out and give them an estimate of exactly what they think it's gonna cost. They could relay that to Ms. Santos, make sure that everybody is agreeable, and then once that's in place, then like Will said, I would think 2 days max if,
Well, that's good, that's not,
weather permitting and all the other
Yeah.
things that variables that we've talked about.
Because of the sensitivity of the issue, would you, Tad, take on the task of keeping this group informed that's here today?
Sure.
I'll send you the attendee list so that you'll know, so that Ms. Simmons can keep the residents informed and the owners informed. As Public Works, we can have that updated, because right now we don't have a vote to take.
Right.
But we ultimately will have to come back potentially with costs or whatever. So I just want to make sure this group is updated in the event that we get questions. Mayor, do you agree with that?
I'm
Yeah,
certainly fine with that.
And do you all approve me to do this by email? Would you rather be phone call, text? How
That's
would
fine.
email?
I would agree with an email. Mr.
Okay.
Griffin?
Yes, if you'll just send me the
I will
the
send it to you.
attendees to who's here today, I will.
that's
we'll-
good, and
we'll-
that way,
Yeah, we'll
as
keep
I
you on the
relate
loop.
to the business owners, they'll get the true facts instead of,
Well,
Right.
and
Fake
Mr.
facts.
Williamson, in the event that things do go south, you need to be aware.
Sure.
So that you can go there and you can see if
Yeah.
it's time to take other action.
Well, we'll have the plumbing inspector be involved with those repairs and stuff
Yes.
also.
Yes.
Have tally, so.
so that they have to be in contact with you anyway.
Right.
Yeah,
Department.
sure, yeah, we'll work together on that.
The one person that I do need to contact that I've meant to contact him all day and it's just been run. But I need to get with Craig with Urban Forestry. I think they're the ones that oversee the sprinkler, the irrigation of those beds. I will need to contact him and let him know, hey, there's a possibility that those may be damaged, so on and so forth. But I'll include him on the email chain, and like I said, I've been aiming to contact him all day today, and
All right, but the place you're talking about,
Is that right there in front of Mom's, that store?
I've got a picture. I'll show you exactly where it's at.
I think that's where it's at, in front of Mom's. Well, I say
oh, I had
that's,
my mind, it was at the other end.
So that's probably
yeah,
not
yeah,
a
okay.
that's
That's
not
just
a
where
very
it was
good
going at
picture
then,
of
in
that.
front
So
of her.
that's
Yeah,
across the peg.
yeah.
So what you're saying here is, you got sidewalk right there, and you got this bed and then one on those.
All right, so this bed, this bed is the one to the right. There's a sidewalk here, and then there's another bed
All
here.
right, because.
And if you'll notice the yellow handled probe that I didn't get a good picture of, they've got it stuck in the ground, and that is the marker of where the actual cave-in and blockage is. So you can see where it's
That's not
headed.
even, that's really not even in front of those businesses, isn't it?
It's actually just to the
It just
just to the
flows down there
south
to
of
that.
Tan City.
So that's
Yes,
what's going on, it's flowing there.
yes. So they actually have it marked.
So
They've got
back
footage
here.
on that camera that shows them the exact
So
point.
back here.
Yes, and it just out of the screenshot is where our manhole is. Like I said, it's
So what is that right there?
that is an old
Oh, okay.
light pedestal. But yeah, there's the mark, and you can see all the orange paint on the ground. That's the fiber optic. There's the fiber optic right there, and that's the
Orange
reason
paint.
we've requested that they do the.
See, I've been confused. I thought it flowed north, but it's
No,
flowing
it's flowing
south.
south.
Flows
Correct.
south.
Yes, the manhole that it flows into are just outside of the manhole. Is just over here outside of this screenshot.
That's-
Now the manhole is a little bit further out into the flow of traffic, not in the parking lot, not in the parking space.
So how much, any closing down the street or anything?
There possibly may be, just because of the size of the equipment, they may have to close
Yeah.
down to one lane. But I don't think it's gonna impede traffic altogether. I think it'll just be a one lane closure. Because most of the time, those Vactron units, depending on who they get and what they have, they could be pretty large, so but the good thing is just on this side of that flower bed, landscape, whatever you want to call it, there are some other parking spots, and they should be able to get off the majority of that equipment off out of the flow of traffic. But there's a possibility that they will have to shut down one lane of traffic, while they're doing that. So that's where we stand.
Oh, wait.
I'm sorry?
Will the businesses have to close while they're doing this work?
We don't, I don't think so. I don't think they're all, according to what we've been told, they're all limiting the amount of flushes, the amount of water usage that they're trying to limit the amount of water that they put into the pipe. I don't think it's gonna be a big deal. They will inform them when they're, of course it'll be obvious when they're on site, and they'll just ask them basically, you know, they don't want them to flush a toilet when somebody's down there trying to put a fitting on this pipe to make the repair, but that will work with the
Okay,
businesses.
that
and let
should,
them,
so they shouldn't be affected.
they shouldn't be affected. The largest majority of the time involved is gonna be excavating down to the point. The repair will not take.
But if
Crappy
water,
Situation.
Yeah.
if
Yeah.
water or anything had to be,
Somebody had to
turned
say
off,
that.
they would notify,
Yes, we would notify them.
because I know Northwood Social is a restaurant and they
Yes.
need water, but they would have notice, and I know they're not open every day anyway.
Right, and that's the other thing, the way, you know, I think, someone even mentioned it at the council meeting last night, you know, there's different days that folks are open and they're closed,
Yeah.
and so it may work out to where they do all this and where the majority of the businesses are not open.
Right.
But my guess is they'll start early one morning before the majority of them open anyway. And, so chances are, if we do have to, shut them down, it'll only be for one day. But I don't see that happening. I don't think there's gonna be enough volume of water coming down there to affect.
So, when things did kind of seep out or had a little of the minimal overflow,
Mhm.
it was basically just water and I know some toilet paper and it's
Mhm.
still that, by no means am I saying that that was okay. Because none of it was never okay.
Right, right.
But other than the water and I guess the toilet paper, there was nothing else floating down this, okay. Even though
Also-
that's not good.
Yeah,
I'm
and
not-
right, I agree with you
I'm
100%.
not saying that that's okay.
Visual inspection, the several times that I've been out there, I've not seen anything but water. Now, I'm sure there's been toilet paper and other solids that have been there at some point, but I've not seen it. Not to say that they weren't there, they were probably
I saw
there.
the toilet paper, it was already
Yes.
dry at that time, and it was
Yes.
just stuck right there in
Yes,
front
but
of the
now we've
business.
washed all that, we've
Yeah,
got all
you
that
did.
washed down, taken care of, we've disinfected.
But that's all I saw.
Crouch and Sons, I will say this, Crouch and Sons did request that they fill the pipe up with water this morning to try to put pressure on it to see if they could force it while they were using their rotting. So when they had about a 3-foot stand pipe, I guess, coming up out of that manhole just to put some head pressure on it. When they removed that little stand pipe, water did backflow into that little pit and out into the street, but we vacuumed it up, we disinfected. So as of right now, everything's in good shape. But it was just basically water, you know, there was nothing else. They didn't flush the toilet or anything like that during the time frame, so.
Awesome. Okay. This answers the questions that I had, because I was mostly concerned about the timeline and making sure that we were respecting the businesses but also, way more importantly, following the ordinances to keep all individuals who interact with this safe. So, do any of you, Mr. Oliver, Mr. Griffin, do you have any questions at all for Mr. Cole today?
No?
Any other questions? Ms. Simmons is our visitor, as our guest council president. Do you have anything else for Mr. Cole
No, he
or
answered-
Mr. Williamson?
He answered last night and today, and like my major concern was the businesses and, of course, the environmental safety for all
Sure.
citizens, and you guys have addressed all of that, so we're good.
So I will send you the attendee list, and you feel free, as I would say, maybe a daily update until
Sure.
we know it's all done.
Sure.
Unless you feel a need to give us emergent updates, which obviously fine, you have the group. So give us those updates and we can be better informed to share that with
Yes,
constituents and as we're asked.
We'll give you daily updates on it. I will say, I've got to, next week, we're traveling with,
NACOG.
NACOG to Washington DC. I've been asked to go and talk on behalf of all the PFAS remediation the money we're fixing to have to spend. So if, in my place, Will may be sending these updates, if this carries over in the next week, we don't know what it will do.
Yes, ma'am.
But if you send it to me, I will, of course,
Yes,
send it to him.
absolutely.
He will be able to update you guys, of course, if I'm not here.
That's
If
great.
it carries over into next week. Just wanted you to be aware of that, so.
No, that's most welcome, totally fine, and we're all available for anything that could be of assistance.
Sure.
Now that wraps up this issue, of
Mhm.
course, unless there's anything else. No? Good, good.
You did a good job last night.
Thank you, I appreciate it. I appreciate it.
And I know it's consumed a lot of your time, but it's obviously an
Well,
important
it's
issue for a
something
lot
that
of
has to be,
people.
I mean, it has to be dealt with, you know, I
Yes.
mean, we certainly don't want to do anything that's going to put any environmental hazard out there for any of the general public. We don't want to do anything that's going to disrupt the businesses I mean, that's their livelihood, you know, I mean, that's like somebody coming in saying you can't work today, you know, I mean, you don't wanna certainly impose that on anyone, so.
It was several things going on.
Sure.
The other issue, do you have anything else for us today?
I do not.
The other issue that I did ask that we have some representation and an update on was a question that was brought up about the parking deck. And engineering is not here, so I will reach out to engineering to get that, because I don't, does anyone here know the answer to that?
My last contact today was there should be somebody out there tomorrow, starting setting up
Fencing.
fencing.
Okay, I will reach out to Todd and get an update, because we did request that, and I'll send that to everybody.
You'll send it to the entire council?
I will, yes ma'am,
Please.
on behalf of Public Works.
Thank you.
So, is there anything else anyone has to bring to the agenda today? All right, we will be adjourned at 4:28. Thank y'all so much.
Thank y'all.
That's how you have a meeting.